Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming. I'm Dell and this is Kerbal Space Program. And last episode we left the Mun lander in space orbiting around. And now we have to send up a scientist to go up and perform a docking maneuver with this. Or more importantly, we're sending up a scientist, but the probe will will perform the docking maneuver. So, just thought I'd show where we are. So we've got we're looking at 190 to 200 height of an orbit. So we have to get there. If we go back to our space station, we prepared a vessel last time. Excuse me. Oh, let's just enter in there. Come on, get in. So we got the Mun Orbiter, and I was gonna check some of the Delta V. I wasn't 100% happy with the thrust to weight ratio at this lowest stage. Overall it's most probably okay, but I'm just going to give it a little extra boost. I think maybe some solid rockets just on this first part, just to ensure it gets into space properly on this first stage, because the first stage is critical. It was a bit slow starting off, and I didn't like that, so we will give it a little bit of a boost just to help. Nothing wrong with that, you know, these are what they are for. It hasn't duplicated that, that's annoying. Come on, duplicate it. No, has it not duplicated that? It's most probably not duplicated that in the first place, so let's make sure that goes in. Okay, that's gone in correctly this time, and then put that onto the top of it. Is that level? That looks correct. And let's just make sure that staging is correct. Yep. Okay, let's put them into the right stage, into there. So thrust to weight ratio 1.6. That's giving us a little bit extra. That should be okay. That just gives me a little bit of a comfy feeling. As such, for that first part. Excuse me, I'm trying to stop and the smacking of the lips. It's a habit I have. It's amazing how people get habits over time, and I've never really noticed until it was pointed out. I suppose that's one of those parts about growing up, and you get used to things about your own environment, including yourself. Anyway, talking about something totally unrelated. So let's now see about getting some crew. So we don't want an engineer. We have Bob. Bob is our only really person that's available here. And we've got Valentina. I thought Valentina was gone. Never mind. We're sending up Bob to go into space and see what we can do. So okay, Bob's now in the capsule, ready to go and do his science thing and EVAs for the good of science. So okay, we're all saved. Let's go for a launch. The main part about this particular episode is the fact of docking with the lander. So I must have restored something, because Valentina's in the Kerbal list. I didn't think Valentina was not. So something's gone wrong with me transferring around between Linux and everything. So okay, everything else seems to be the same though. Strange. Anyway, talking about things which are not relevant at this moment. Okay, so let's just check the staging. So everything firing at the beginning. Cool. Solid's gone. Yep. Then those two side rockets. Fine. Then the next two rockets. Fine. Final stage has no burner. Has no parachutes. Okay, so we are ready for this. So we are going to control from here. That's fine. Everything looks okay. Ah, just forgot something I was going to do. We are going to go back and recover this vessel. This needs some reaction controls because we are going to need this to dock. Therefore, docking without reaction controls is a pain in the proverbial. So let's go back. Almost forgot that. I could make the Mun lander dock with this, but I think on this first stage I'd rather use the monopropellant and everything in this vehicle to do the docking. So let's just check a few things. Now, how much monopropellant have we actually got on board? It might be worth opening up this and adding a bit more monopropellant in here, just to be on the safe side, because I'm never sure how much it's going to use. Whenever I've done this, it seems to use more than anticipated. Let's see if we can get this to connect in some way nicely. That doesn't look too bad. If I can get it to connect. Okay, so first of all we're putting some monopropellant in there. That looks okay. Close that. So we've got some extra monopropellant. Now we need to balance this up, so we need to find the middle point. So if we take that over there for the moment and bring this back and find the center of mass, and then put some where did they come under? Utility? Where's my reaction? Command and control. There we go. Just go with those. 4-way. Just there. I think should be fine. Okay, that will just finalize that. Take off the center of mass, don't need that anymore. No real change to most of that, just those particular parts. Added a little bit to the weight. So it's actually up to 9.7. We've got 5,086. So we're a little heavy now. Our thrust to weight ratio 1.59 at this stage. Stage 7, that I'm just making sure that everything is going to last as long as it should. I'm worried about... Okay, well, we'll go with it. I think we'll go with it. I think that should be enough. We had plenty spare after the last one. It's cost a lot if we do get a problem. This has cost a lot of spondulics, so to speak. But we're at 5,080. That leaves us about 500 spare. So yeah, crikey, we should. And we've got plenty in that the last module, if it really comes to it. So okay, happy. Going for the launch this time. Make sure the scientist is still on board. Yep, Bob is still on board. Okay, going for a launch. Okay, final checks as always. All them. Launch of that. Yes. Yes. Then that final stage. Okay, full speed. Stabilization. We're going to do our usual straight up for the first part. I don't know how this is going to handle, so I'm going to be a bit careful. And we now have Bob on board. So we'll get this ready for our first liquid fuel jettison. But otherwise, ready. Oh, one thing we need to check before we launch is where is our target. Right, we are going to be faster, so we need to wait a minute for it to come around. Now, is it slow? No, it's okay. But we need to be just behind it when this launches, so we're as close as possible. So, just there should be fine. We'll take off just a little behind it on that, and we'll play catch up, which is fine because we're going to possibly have a lower orbit. He's on quite a high orbit. Right, Bob, are you ready? 3, oops, Stabilization on. That on. Don't need RCS. 3, 2, 1, go. Right, just letting it go straight. Keeping an eye on the ball. Moving it to, I always like to have it on orbit mode. Checking the fuel on this stage so I can see when it runs out. I've forgotten to put the engineer program on here. We have no, I thought that was on there. We have no engineer. Okay, we're going to have to do this without engineer. That's going to make it a little bit more awkward, but not impossible. Just going to have to do this by eye. Side fuel has gone. I missed that. Right, moving over a bit towards the 10 degree. Moving this slowly because I don't know how stable this is going to be. Now I need to get plenty of height anyway. Next stage is gone. Checking the fuel on the next stage. Heading over a little harder. A little bit late on that first stage. We're still okay though. What's that that just blew? Was that something that blew? Or so I forgot the engineer. I have to. Never mind. We'll have to go without it. That's going to be a pain for all. We haven't got all the items for orbital. Going over to the 45 degree. There we go. Now we know we've got about 180 degree we want to get to. So we're going to have to do a fair bit of this from the map now because we haven't got it on this part. But we're going to do the first stage of it manual because that's the common for us to work with. So we'll go here though. And we're going to have to keep an eye on the apoapsis there, 41k. That's fine. Coming back here, our speed is good, a bit high I think it was, but we're doing some sound barrier blasts I think was some of it. Right, we're at 40k. Looking good at the moment, I believe. We are still going up, which is the key. It's on this next stage, it's got possibilities. Let's just make sure that all those fuels are working. Yeah, that one's done. Into the last stage on this fuel. Coming up to 50k. Starting to move over to the 70k point. Slowly. Just jettisoning those sections, not moving whilst it moved. It's jettisoned. Right, at 70 to the 70 degree mark. Try and hold it around there. Right, we're now going to do this from here. And just make sure that we are okay. We need to get this into a good orbit as a starting point. So I'm putting a quick, that should be a good starting point, so we're going to aim for that. We're just going full burn. Our apoapsis is increasing, which is important. So we're still in an orbital thing. We're going to set that while we're here. No, we'll do this one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Still at 89, and that is increasing, which is good. T-minus 53. Our speed is still increasing. We seem to have good fuel. look at this stage's fuel. Yep, we've got plenty of fuel. 93k. Once it starts going around, we'll just hold it. It's increasing time to there quite nicely. I want to push this up a little bit, up to about where are we? That's at 200, so we'll stop this at about 150. So you can see I'm having to do this, eyeball this, which is going to make it a little more difficult. Hold it there. Okay, so we are now orbital. Not quite orbital. Right, well, give us add a maneuver point there, just to bring our periapsis up. So we're running this without engineer, but that's fine. Right, we'll get this one up to about an intersect, just about. So what we're going to do is set the Mun lander as a target, and our first burn here, as well as stabilizing our orbit, what I want to try and do is get the this is the way I tend to do it, is I start with an elliptical orbit slightly below their orbit. So I'm going to get this swaps around and we get our apoapsis near close. There we go, we've got intersects. 273 kilometers. Let's see if we can get that a little closer. Got 2 intersects. Are we out on our maybe slightly out on our angle? Well, we won't worry about that for the moment. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. So we'll do that burn first, because that will get set our, let's see, our apoapsis to 204, and that's equivalent to their periapsis. Well, we need to be about 196, so let's just take that down a little bit so that the intersect is there. There we go. 193. So it's close. That's cool. That's cool. So it's a 15-second burn. What we're going to do is a couple of stages. We're then going to look at the ascending and descending nodes, and we'll do a burn to basically get our traverse about the same as well. Right. Okay. Let's go back to here. So first thing I need to do is we've got fuel-wise, we've got plenty of fuel left, which is good. Right. First thing I need to do is get us pointed at this next node. Now this is going to take this is a bit heavy to try and move over, but it shouldn't be too bad. So again, now with the docking, I've only done this a few times, so this will be interesting to see how this works. The main bit I've found is just you've got to be patient. So I'm going to use a fair bit of time lapse, I'm guessing, on some of this here. On some of it is just don't get impatient and then put too much power on or anything else like that, because speed will kill you in a docking. You've just got to be slowly close with the target until, and don't panic, and just do lots of little control maneuvers. Okay, so we're ready there, and it's saying 15 seconds, which I think is going to be about right. So we do about 7 seconds beforehand. So let's just zoom up to the time. Now again, we don't have the Kerbal engineer, which was a mistake. So as soon as we're there, I'm going to do this with the map, so I can see we can see it actually go into place. 1 minute. Okay, let's just move this around a little bit so I can see this periapsis should go to that where that AP says. Alright, 15 seconds, so about 7 seconds to, or I'll do it at 8 and then we'll see how we go from there. We might have to just speed it off down the last bit. Okay, that's the speed on. I don't want to be too far over. That's the swap. There we go. That should be close enough. 200, a little over, but not a problem. Right, now next bit to do is to just get, you see there's a slight difference in the in our orbital. It's only 0.7 degrees, but that can be problematic. So we're going to try and bring this to be a lot less. So we want it to be 0.0 basically, or as close as we can to 0. Let's set that up. Okay, how's that affected our other areas? We've got an intersect there and an intersect 279, and that is there, so we'll just give a slight back off there as well. Basically I want the intersect to be them to join. When they join like that, that usually means it's a very good you've got a good intersect. It's gone to one sort of intersect point. It's going back the other way now, so that's possibly too low. No, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, now this is the dark side, but we should be okay. Right, so I'm going to do this again from the map. I'll go here to do our initial turn onto the vector. We've got plenty of fuel, so that's fine. Right, just using the nav ball to put me onto the right area. Little moves, don't be too hasty. Also got to keep an eye on my electrical. Don't want to run out of electrics. So, but this will be fine. We're going to be in the sun. We've got plenty of battery as well. If things start getting bad with control, I can always enable the RCS. Now I'm using as much fuel in this last stage as I can to get us as close as we can to our target. I'm getting a few moves around, but that seems to be okay. I'm alright with that. That's an okay situation. It's going to be a very short burn, so I'm going to use the shift and control. So let's get up to the point. This is mainly about the control of there, but we can now see 6 minutes, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it. Oh, nice sunrise there. Interesting. Okay, so just going to use this the shift and control key just to have a bit of control. Got plenty of engine battery power, so we're fine. Gonna do it at about 6 seconds to. There we go, and then you give it a lot less than normal. Okay, let's take that node out now. And how's our descending? Yep, NAN means, not a number. But so basically it's just about dot on. Now you can see where the lander is, and you can see where we are, and this is our intersect point. When we get here, we're at 285 at that point. So now what we're going to do is now do a load of what's the best way of putting it? Brain's gone now, but lots of moves until this figure goes down. So let's just bring that down so we get an intersect again. So we've got a good intersect 285. Right, okay. Now if we click off, why don't I do it there and go back onto this, and we're going to say no, that's not what I want to do. I want to give it some rotations. There we go. So if I give it a rotation, we've now got an intersect. If I give it another rotation, that intersect is at 362, 900. Okay, so it's going worse there. So we might have to find a better place to intersect. So we're possibly going to be going too fast. So what we've got to do now is at our apoapsis here is, let's ignore this one. We're basically looking at that. What it means is we're overtaking, which is not good. We want to catch up, not overtake. So we're going to add a maneuver node, and we're going to push our periapsis up so we get another intersect. 285, 195, and that's now, yeah, it's not good. Let's go that way a little bit. I want to get his periapsis is 198, so I want this to move so it stays about the same. Our periapsis and his stay roughly the same place. That's a little too much. Periapsis one. It's just trying to work out where all my points are now. That's 196 and 186. Do a little bit more. 196. Okay, we'd go for that one first. We might have to do a second maneuver node just there. So 8 seconds. Whoops, I'm well off the point here. Okay, well, we're going to be a bit delayed, but we'll still go for it. So this is a matter of just adjusting our orbit to get the good intersect. We don't want to be too fast, we want to be slowly catching up to the lander in a similar orbit but not too far away. Okay, it's a little too far out. Come on, give us that thing. Let's just give it a little boost just to give me some control here. There we go. It's not dot on. Which I'm not disappointed about, but let's give about that much. There we go. Right, now we're going to have to see what intersects have we got. We've got an intersect there at 200. 84 and intersect 1. Okay, our new, that's our apoapsis and that's our new periapsis. What's our new apoapsis? 197, and we've got an intersect there. Right, let's check. And our periapsis is 191 and 197. Okay, so we've let's just check our ascending and descending nodes. We haven't changed that, which is good. So our ascending nodes, descending nodes are still correct, and we haven't gone too far out. So now we just got to get somewhere to get, let's see if we can do it at this periapsis. Add a maneuver. Just to see if we can get a better intersect. 250, 250, no, that's no good. So that 287 is about all we're going to get there. So that's, yeah, that's no good. That's not giving us any advantage. Let's go around a bit. Sometimes just moving it around to here. Right, let's just get our, now we're on a closer orbit, what we can now do is use that same maneuver again. So we want to go onto here, but we want to just say, right, add that, and it's now at 209. Another rotation, 170, another rotation, 132. So we're adding rotations, 93 kilometers, 53 kilometers, 14 kilometers. Gone the opposite side, so that's not, so we go back here, 14 kilometers. I'm happy with that. If we can get to 14 kilometers away, I think we can work with that with a few little adjustments. I think I can get that to go close. So that's our good intersect. So just took a couple of little slow changes just to get that close, and we're going to use this point now just to time when that'll be. So we're going to get to this point first, so I will just do some time warp. Okay, welcome back, and you can see we've got a nice close intersect now, and we can actually see the ship. So now what we're going to try and do is get everything just lined up as best we can. Now, one thing that's starting to will be handy is if I can get this orientated so that it is more, there we go. Right, so we're going to basically point at the target at this second. Now it's not a matter of just blasting towards the target. What we've now got to do is match our courses as close as we can. So I'm going to take this closest point and see if I can make a new intersect. So we take a maneuver node here. We haven't got much time to do this, so we'll just see if we can get that any closer. Now we are speeding up, so we might need to just go a little retrograde. Also, we're 42 meters. We're closing at 42 meters a second. Okay, the other way is to do this manually. Okay, so we know that they're basically, we can do this by pointing in the direction we want. So we know we're speeding up, but we know they're that way a little bit. So what we can do is effectively aim at a direction we want to go. We just do one direction at a time. We don't try and do too much, and then we basically aim in the opposite. So I'm putting the ship about 90 degrees to the direction. A little bit more this way. Be actually easier if I go to if you go to locked view, it'll be easier to work out where everything is, because it will go relative. So it's over there. Okay, it's just slightly easier to work out which direction you're facing. Okay, so that's there. Right, stabilize it there. Let's just give it a little burn in that direction. Move this way a little bit further, because I don't want the speed. If anything, I want the speed to close down. Now, one of the things you want to get, you see the prograde marker. I want to get the prograde marker over the top of their ship, effectively. That means you're fairly much on a good bearing and equal amount to them. So we try and put our course in between that marker and give it a little burn. As you can see, the prograde's heading towards it. Now, we don't want to do too much, because that will continue to move in that direction. And our speed is 54.6. Which is fine for the moment. So we just see if we can move that over a little further. Right, our target is now over that way, so now we have to allow for the fact of going the opposite direction at some point, because otherwise we're going to close far too fast. Now this is where it's going to take some time to get close. I do this by just a little adjustment at a time, being prepared to go. You got to remember, for every boost you give one way, you may well have to give a boost in the opposite direction to slow yourself down again. So you have to be prepared. You don't want to make these changes too quick. At the moment we're coming in, I think, a little hot. Actually, that 61 meters a second is the speed relative between us. I think that's a little fast, so I'm going to push something over here, and I will possibly just do a bit of this offline and bring you back when we're a little closer. Okay, so we're at a slightly higher altitude than our target now, but only a kilometer away. So I'm going to change now to using the RCS instead, and let's just make sure we are in a good view. So the easiest way is to put your views back to going onto locked. That will set you so you know where you are. And now let's just head down a bit. So basically we're gonna try and just get ourselves a little closer. The RCS is a lot more finer control than using the main thrusters, but again, you've got to do little changes at a time to bring yourself in. You need to stabilize the distance if you can. So we'll just get our angle about right, which is going to be about there, and now just a little bit of forward momentum. Give ourselves a little boost there. We were a little slow, I think, there, but we're going to bring ourselves down onto the target. Yeah, we got a little too. We were a little fast coming into there. Okay, this is looking good. Right. Okay. Just gonna angle the ship towards it a little bit. There we go. So basically we're going to aim at it and then do lots of little. Now we've got one thing to keep an eye on. You see the target speed 6.6. Now at the moment that's okay. We need to make sure that that does not get too high. We've got plenty of monopropellant left at the moment, so that's fine. Alright, we're going to slow down now, because that's a little too fast in my view. Slow down a little bit more. Now it's just a wait time. So we're in the. So this is just like little corrections. Get the speed down. A little bit up, a little bit down. You know, just start bringing it roughly in line with your ship, basically. Just a little bit at a time. Keeping an eye on that speed, and then once you've made a change, give it some time to have an effect. See what it does. If you make too many changes at one time and don't see what happens, then you won't know which change was good or bad. And always remember, if once you've got it stable, if you do a few splits to one side to make it start moving, you're going to have to do some in the opposite direction as well to counter that. So it's always a matter of counter, then make a few moves, see what it does. It's like a boat. You have to like turn the opposite direction. In some ways, I say a boat. Yeah, I suppose it's a boat. You have to turn the opposite direction. You have to wait for the rudder and everything to come back again. And in this space, because there's no resistance to anything, it takes a while for everything to have an effect and come back into play. So you have to be careful of what you do. Now you can use the ball nav, which is what I'm using. You can see my prograde marker, because I'm heading towards it. I want to get that onto the target, but I want to be coming in level. So you can see I'm just making small changes which are bringing my prograde marker slowly onto the target. Now I'm going to just aim at there at the target. There we go, because we're just about on the horizon anyway. Closing in nicely. So now I'll fast forward until we actually get close. Again, it's just patience. Right, now we're fairly close to our target, and we're just gonna get this speed right down, because there's a couple of things we need to now do. One is, on our own ship, is ensure that we are controlling it from the Clampertron. That's it. So now all of everything will be done based on that. Now the other part is on the ship we're docking with. If you can find the Clampertron, set as target. So that is now the target. Now also we can see the orientation of the ship, and we need to be in the same orientation. So we can see that that's how we need to be. Right. So now we need to go over there a little bit. I think it's not quite the same. Without the Kerbal engineer, I can't tell the exact inclination, but just eyeball it, get as close as you can to the same orientation. Right, I'm moving across now. Got plenty of monopropellant left. We're in the dark side, unfortunately, which does make this a little bit more difficult. Again, don't go too quickly, just let it make its way over, a little bit at a time. Remember, every time if you start it moving in a direction, you've got to do thrusts in the opposite direction at some point, just to even it up, so to cancel out any change you made. So you can see we're coming in quite nicely on the target. Docking speed is 0.2 meters a second or less. Yeah, we seem to be okay. I need to just even get that a little nearer to even. It's a little difficult to see without the sunlight, but that looks about the same orientation, I think. We'll see when we get a little closer. How about that way? Yeah, that looks about right. Right, so we're just gradually, the way I'm doing it is I'm moving at one axis at a time. So luckily we're on this axis, alright. We need to go down a tad. Remember, if you move one way, you're going to have to give the opposite control at some point as well. And it's very dark here to see, so I do apologise for that. Alright, we're levelling up here, so I'm slowing it down that rate of change. Alright, give us a little bit of a forward motion. 0.2 meters a second, that's fine. You don't want to go fast. Right, we're a little bit off on our angle. I think that looks, I can see him a little bit better now. Yeah, so you can see it highlighting the thing, so it helps me to see. Now you could put lights onto these to help, but it would use electricity. Right, I'm gonna go across 2 spurts that way. How are we on this way? We're a little high, so let's give it 1 spurt high. But we're coming in nicely. You can also use your nav ball. You can see that I'm heading towards, basically I want to get my marker in the center here, as close as I can, and then head in and hold it in that position as we close onto the target, and that should mean we're heading directly in. A little bit more, one more that way, a little high. Slowing that way down a little bit more, 2, 3, and 1, 2 up. And 1 more down. That's just about on. A little high, then I have to come down a little, and we're just going to give it a little bit more forward thrust. Just a tad. Not too much. I'd rather be coming at 0.1 than come in too fast. Okay, how's our angle? Not happy at that. Let's move over this way just a tad. Seem to be a bit of an angle off. I'm not using the docking. There is a docking system here, but I tend not to use it. It gets a little confusing which keys I'm supposed to be using at times. So I tend not to use it. Well, I haven't used it in the so far. Right, all of you can see the prograde, everything is about the same point, which would mean we're heading in to a dock. So we're a little bit still that way, not quite level. That looks about right. That's the most difficult thing to judge is how level you are. Okay, so we need to go this way just a tad. How about height wise? I think we're okay there. Let's go that way just a little bit more. Right, bringing it back in. So you can see all three icons we need over the dot. Oops, losing it a little bit here. Right, this is the time when you don't make too many changes. Just one change at a time. Right, we'll just let that, see if that will clamp. Once it gets within 0.6, it should magnetically clamp if we're about right. There we go. We are docked. Yippee! Successful docking. Now, things you can do at this point. Now, we could, if we right-click, alt-right-click on here, and say alt-right-click on one of these tanks, we can basically transfer items. Except I'm not sure how. Okay, the other thing we can do is if we go onto the crew hatch. There we go. Where's the crew hatch here? Crew hatch, crew hatch, and we can. Let's see. We should be able to transfer crew somehow. Let me just see. Let me take off the SAS. Alright, just checking a few bits out because this is can't remember how to transfer items at this second. Let me just have a no, everything is okay on there. Right, we're going to do okay, let's just left click and then you can transfer. Select a module to transfer Bob to. We click on that and Bob is now in the lander. So Bob is now in there. So if we do that one more time, we're transferring back to there. And Bob is now back in the Mark 1 capsule. It's, you know, we're just not coming up with any fuel transfer options at this time, which is a little strange basically, because obviously you read what it says in the manual, and we're supposed to have some option to move monopropellant and all the other fuels between these two sections. Not a big problem if we can't, but it would be nice to be able to, obviously. So we're just going to have to see, and I'll do some checking before next episode to go through this before we do our burn to Mun, because if need be I will transfer up a new version of this lander that does allow fuel transfer, or I'll sort myself out so I can work out how to bloody do this. That's what you get for doing things live and seeing how it goes. But that's all the fun of Kerbal, and the rest of it is, it's not a matter of knowing how to do this sort of stuff, it's a matter of finding out how. So, until next time, watch me do silly things in space, but have fun and keep playing. Until next time, have fun.